they are as a child. They're blaming, they're temper tantrum, maybe they're raising their voice, maybe they start crying. You saw the whole thing. The minute you bring up someone's mommy and daddy, you got them. Because we all got a story. And the someone that says, it was perfect. I had the best child. Those are fucked up. Those are the most deluded of clients. And I have this thing called you cracked the snow globe of delusion. You better fucking take a hammer. I have given that homework assignment to students to go get a snow globe, wrap it in a blanket, and take a hammer and crack that shit. Because they're living in a winter wonderland that did not exist. And they are deluding themselves of what happy childhood they had. That was a lie. So that, when immediately a client's like, oh no, my parents, da, da, da. Woo, those are your sickos. Those are your bigger sickos. It's often easier to assist clients that recognize their trauma or have had traumatic situations because they're more open and aware about it. They might have sought help, they might have had a teacher, they might have read something, whatever, than someone who thought that they had a perfect childhood. Because that person is trying to maintain the illusion of perfection and dream. And that's the basis. So first question, Aniela. Mother, father, in terms of not the situation that caused anger, is it your mother or your father? Or both? Okay. So we now established that she feels that whomever didn't tell her, the fact her friend died, the fact she was left out, whatever it is, she is put in child position. Adults don't want to be put in child positions because it makes them vulnerable. We don't like to be vulnerable. We don't like to be weak. Second question, what didn't you like about this situation? What else?
That's it pretty much. That's what got me. That was the only thing that just bothered me.
So it bothered you that they didn't tell you anything?
Yeah.
Okay. When we ask question number 2, okay, when we answer it, you never, ever, ever, in this model, answer for your client. They must use their words. The words they use are intentional, and that's what's going to give you the clue. Okay? So what she doesn't like about the person, place, thing, or situation is that they didn't tell her anything. Okay? So what feelings are being brought up here?
How she feels? She's angry.
Okay, but when someone doesn't tell you something, what do you feel?
Betrayed.
You feel
Betrayed.
left out, excluded. So there's a feeling of exclusion, right? And what else? For anyone who knows Aniela, you're going to catch that thread once I say it. What is her whole thing about?
Being first.
Control. What else?
She should have been the first to find out, right? Because she
Okay.
always wants to be first in everything.
Okay, but use what they say. We know that about her. They didn't tell me anything. When you are not told, what does that mean?
Maybe
that like not work, like.
Okay, the dark about what? What was that?
Like, maybe like, they didn't feel that she was valid or important enough to tell, like right away.
No, I want you to listen to what she said. They didn't tell me.
Ego.
What happens when you are told something?
You do.
No. Not
You're in the
necessarily.
loop.
You're in the loop. You have what?
You have information.
Information!
Yeah, we said.
Information! Aniela does not want to not know anything. She is going to be the youngest PsyD in the state of Florida. Information, research, education is this woman's entire story. She's not angry that these people didn't tell her. What it did was it struck her wound. How dare I not know something? Because if I don't know something, then I can't validate my worth. This is what you have to start listening. The client is always telling you. Now, trick number 2 to this step. Whatever the client answers in step number 2 is what their inner child is asking for. That tiny little 3rd chakra little boy or girl that lives there, the needs that weren't met, she, by responding angrily to this question, what she didn't like about the person, place, thing, or situation, is what her little child inside is saying. Mommy, you're not telling me something. And I need to hear it.
It's been almost 20 years. We're getting there.
Mommy. So how many of you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend and you've ever said, you don't spend enough time with me?
I'll raise a hand for Alan.
What,
My boyfriend says that's it.
what is your little boy or girl saying to you?
I don't have time.
Mommy, Daddy, you're not spending enough time with me. So she's not telling herself what she needs to tell herself. That she's smart, that she's valuable, that she's beautiful, that she deserves a break, that she's excellent, whatever it is. The client knows. So that step is super, super important. And so in order to position the child as a child, then you get them already thinking that, oh, I'm a child and I have unmet needs. Adults think that their needs are met because they can go to the store and buy whatever they want, and they can get a drink, and they can pick, screw whoever they want. I meet my own needs. Your adult bullshit self that you're masking around, this is what calls the shots. The little baby that was left in the crib to figure out how these big monsters were going to give them milk and change their diapers and hold them. And that little baby is in there begging for his or her needs to still be met. And that is why in relationships we show up as children. That is why when we get sick, especially men, we show up as children. And we cry, and Adriana brings me a tissue, and all the things I didn't get, and it's like, oh. Because we're just little kids wanting to get our needs met. And the minute you answer what the client answers, what don't you like about the person, place, thing, or situation, no matter what they say, It is A, what they're failing to give themselves. And it's exactly links you to their core issue that came from conception. So tell me a little bit about the conception story. Who knew about you? Who didn't know about you? Who was told? Just for shits and giggles.
The only thing that I know, but it has nothing to do with conception, has to do with before that,
Okay.
is that my dad actually told my mom that I was gonna be a girl, that I was gonna have blue eyes, and my name was gonna be Aniela. So she very much described me. That's the only thing that I know.
Okay, so he had like a prophecy, a premonition.
Yeah. That's the only thing.
Oh.
I don't even know.
So look at the importance. She was announced before conception. So how dare she not have information after it happened? That bitch didn't get it before the guy died. How dare that guy not call and say, oh, by the way, I'm about to die in half a second? FYI. So, since we know that wasn't going to happen, the next best thing is, the minute it happens, I should know. But sure as hell, it shouldn't be 2 days later. Oh, hell to the no. So the way that Aniela heals being in the know, or never ever not being in the know, is studying and reading, and she knows so much. And every day, 24/7, what does she draw on her piece of paper?
An eye.
An eye. And what is the third eye about? Seeing before it happens. Premonitions before they're shown. There's your reason. I must see, be the all-seeing eye before, because that's your conception story. So you must continue to honor that. That can get very exhausting. Because if you have to know everything before anyone, that's tiring. So do you see that it always ties back to the story you have to prove right? So step 2 is super, super important. Step 1 is to position the person that they're a child. And that sucks. It gets you speaking your inner child, or whatever language you want to use. I have little props in my office, sometimes little baby dolls, you know. That child didn't get the needs met. And then when they answer what they don't like about it, it's because it reflects back to their validation or lack of. But the best thing about question number 2, make a big fat box and call it your bad bucket, and add in the answer to that bad bucket. So what didn't she like? They didn't tell me anything. So this means that Aniela doesn't tell anyone anything. And we know this to be true. Because she's Scorpio, and she's secretive, and she keeps everything to herself. So what you don't like that someone does to you, it's because you have it in you. And the answer every single time to question number 2 is the shadow. It goes into the bad bucket. That's why Tuesday I said your bad bucket's going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. Eventually you're going to have a handful of things because you're going to see that it's the same answer, just in different words. That's the best thing about number 2. This is called the mirror. If you do not like something in someone, what is it?
Because it's inside of you.
It is inside of you, and you don't like it inside of you, or you do like it, but you were told that's wrong, or you do like it, but the Costco membership says, no, not in this family. And conflict arises. If you do nothing but step 2, you have the whole story. So, she didn't like not being in the know. She doesn't like to tell us anything. She makes me work. And that is something that is in her. But there might be fear of expression. There might be fear of being found out. There might be a fear of vulnerability. So now you know that the client doesn't tell others things, and you can start saying, so did something happen to you? Did someone gossiped about you? Well, you see how you start formulating your questions. Was there a time where you were vulnerable and you shared something and then it became, newspaper gossip? Did you tell a friend a secret about something that you did and then they went and blurted it out? And you can start with your questions. Tanisha, when I ask a question, I have a reason to ask the question. That's how it works. So when she says she didn't like being left out, and we know that in her bad bucket she doesn't tell us anything, there has to be a story. And it always comes from conception. In her case, preconception. She was premonition. Which can also indicate, if she was a premonition, if you really love me, Francis, you better know what I'm thinking, needing, and feeling, because my daddy knew. So you suck and you don't love me if you don't know what I need beforehand. Anyone like that? You better read my mind and know.
You're not like that.
I used to be like that.
She's not like that.
I used to know, because now I've learned to ask for what I need.
So she's not angry that they didn't tell her anything. She's angry that they were supposed to know, that she would want to know as soon as it happened.
She's angry at herself for being secretive, and she's angry at herself for not having known. The mother and the father are just the place we place the blame. The anger is directed towards her.
Because if she was more open, they might have told her sooner
It
about
could
her
be.
friend.
It could be, and then you could do
Then
sessions
they
about
would-
that, and that could be the work that we do. But the anger, the emotion that you feel is towards yourself, because it's your inner child reclamando. You don't give me that. So her inner child is saying, you're not telling me something. Maybe it's, I love you, or you need some rest. Whatever it is. So the emotions and the person, place, thing, or situation that's being used as mom and dad is being displaced or projected. You know these words from psychology, right? From Freud, right? We're displacing or projecting onto the situation or the person what we are failing to give ourselves fucking with our story. And you don't fuck with someone's story because then what happens? Who the fuck am I? So you can't fuck with that. She gotta know. She gotta know first. So you start seeing the theme. And this is why you understand that if her conception story is about her dad knowing she's a girl with beautiful eyes named Aniela, that she must know all the answers in class, that she always does, that she must be the smartest, that she must be the youngest graduate, very successful, because she has built her entire narrative, her whole sweater, that one day is going to be pulled into a pile of yarn that's going to be useless when she gets to her 7 gates, is built on, I am worthy when I have the answers. I am worthy when I know information. I am worthy when perhaps I know something that others don't. And what is life going to do?
Fuck you up.
Fuck you up. Clobber your ass and show you you know nothing. You're the last to know. That none of that mattered. And then you're going to get up off the floor and you're going to say, I don't want this Costco card anymore. It's bullshit. And then mine is Nordstrom's. You can have Nordstrom's too. You're going to pick your card and you're going to go shopping for the new Aniela, as Jesus told Nicodemus. That point, you will be birthed from your womb. Why your womb? Because all of a sudden, your mother, father, child triad is going to be adult. You. Or sometimes, another way is that you have an appropriate relationship with both parents. And you're an adult. That's ideal. But mainly that you have an adult relationship with yourself. You ask, I need this and this and that. The other person has a right to say no, but you have asked for what you need. So this step is so loaded with information that if I do nothing but use this step, easily I can have a 90-minute session. Are we seeing this? Are we understanding the methods to my madness? Oh, we have time.
I'm curious now that Aniela has this information, are you still angry?
Yeah, I was not really angry. I was just bothered. It just bothered me. It was a,
Are you still bothered?
no.
Well, I don't believe that.
Yeah, me.
I don't believe that. This is the child part of the model. This is the part that you're trying to get the client to understand and to gain awareness. There's no real behavior change happening here. Behavior change, if it happens, is going to be down here in the adult. So let's go through the rest, okay? So we know that now, and you're writing these notes, you don't necessarily have to tell this person, oh, you're a know-it-all, you're a straight student, all of that. You don't have to say that to the client, but you make a note. So when you guys talk, that's what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, okay, and then 2 hours later I pop out a question with, you're like, how the hell did she know that? Because I put it away. And when I do my clients, I have a stack of paper, and I'm scribbling, and I have notes all over the place. And after the client starts and finishes with their story, I look at my key words that prompt me to know what I have to ask. So I can just be listening to this, and then around here, Especially if the client gets stuck, our job is to help prompt them, perhaps. I can go back to intelligence, or what was the value placed on education, or, you know, was there a time if you had a brother or a friend that you were left out of the group, or, you know, did you ever have a surprise party and they didn't tell you and you hate surprise parties? Because people that like to be in the know do not like surprise parties. Do you like surprise parties?
I like love.
So, this is how you get your theories. Okay, so let's go to the next step. Remember I told you one of the tenets is you create everything. Why do we create everything? What is it important to understand that tenet?
To meet your needs. Huh? I just
To
got-
meet your need, yeah, you're on it. To meet your needs of what? I have to create everything, and what am I trying to meet by creating everything?
To prove your parents say.
Exactly. What you're trying to do is to prove that your story is the story, and you have to be the first, you have to be smart, you have to have a good body image, you're worthless, you're the king of the castle, whatever it is. So, the reason that a lot of metaphysical, books and authors will say, you create everything, you create your reality, you create this and this and this, is because of this. That's what, and I've told you guys that I'm having my own little existential crisis, and it's not that I have totally, thrown out my belief systems. The thing is, what I'm doing is I'm understanding them differently now. When these texts talk about we create everything, yes, but why? That's why, and we've talked about law of attraction and The Secret, and I told you guys that became a shit show. The Secret, many, many years ago, famous movie, famous book, all of those people ended up suing each other and getting into big fights. Because one of the big thing with the law of attraction was make vision boards. Put a check of $1 million on your wall, and people started thinking that they were losers. No, what they failed to explain is that your subconscious belief around those things has to change in order for you to get that vision board, to get that money, to get that career. And so people really, really had a difficult time, and there was a real big backlash self-worth-wise. It has shifted a bit. So yes, do we create everything? Yes. If that vision board aligns with my story. But if I don't believe that I deserve the mansion or a marriage or whatever, I'm not creating that. That's the issue I have with a lot of the New Age teachings, is that they're not explaining really clear, and they're leaving people thinking that I'm going to set an affirmation and positive, 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 and give me a fucking break. If at the root of your story is you're a worthless piece of shit because you were left to be abandoned or your parents wanted to abort you, you ain't fucking building, a freaking empire on the thought that you're amazing. You have a lot of work to do to shift that subconscious, that thread. So that's where those things are misleading. But I do believe that we create everything. I'm shifting some things about that. But in general, the idea. So, step 3. Why did you create the person, place, thing, or situation? What did you have to prove right, Aniela? Step number 3 is a step of taking personal responsibility. You must own that you have a story and that you want to prove that you're only worthless or worthwhile, whatever it is, if that happens. If I am not divorced and dumped and proving that I am not marriage material, I cannot be happy. Because my mother told me that they were gonna throw me against the door and they weren't gonna want me. So I must prove her right until I decide to stop. So for 45 years, I've been proving that narrative right. So I must create that because she told me that that's the way it works. So why must you create being not